Democracy at its best offers the promise of inclusion, it offers the promise of progress and justice. While Nigeria has made meaningful strides, there are still glaring gaps, particularly when it comes to the participation of women in governance. In a country where women make up nearly half of the population, their presence in leadership remains disproportionately low. But numbers alone don't tell the full story. The few who make it to the top often confront steep, silent hurdles ranging from subtle gatekeeping to overt discrimination and even harassment. Meanwhile, everyday Nigerians are contending with the pressures of rising living costs, growing unemployment, and persistent economic uncertainty. It begs a larger question: how do we deepen our democracy in ways that are both inclusive and transformative? How do we ensure that we tackle economic hardship and also build a political space that reflects the strength and diversity of our people? I'm Hadiza Malofashi. Welcome to the Pop Show. Welcome back. Tonight, we're joined by someone whose story cuts across several layers of the Nigerian experience. A woman who dared to step into the volatile terrain of national politics, whose trajectory, both celebrated and challenges, reveals much about the system that we operate in. She's a philanthropist, a social entrepreneur, a former ministerial nominee, and now she serves on the Presidential Committee on Palliative Distribution. Her nomination in 2023 marked a redefining moment for young Nigerian women. As her sudden withdrawal from the Senate confirmed, it sparked a lot of conversation. It personally made me question what's happening in Nigeria and with the women in politics. She walked into the tightrope of public admiration and institutional pushback. And through it all, she has remained a symbol of ambition, resilience, and purpose. Joining us on the show, on the PAF show today, is Dr. Maryam Shetty. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Thank you for having me, Hadiza. I'm delighted to be here. It's a pleasure to have you here. So let's just get into it. Let's begin with the 2023 ministerial nomination. Okay. It was a big moment, especially for young Nigerian women, and you went through the process only for the nomination to be withdrawn. Can you take us through your process and your experience?
Well, that was quite it was quite very profound moment for me at the time because number one, unlike what a lot of people had thought, there are certain things that it might help for me to put some clarity on. And part of it is that not everyone lobbies to be appointed for anything. So it came naturally as quite a shocking moment for me, as it did for a lot of people and other politicians and young people and everyone, ever Nigerian, because I never asked for it. I never lobbied for it. I'm sure it was entirely the president's, how should I put it? It was Mr. President's prerogative, and I'm delighted. I must say that finally someone recognizes something in you and feels you could actually fill that certain void and deliver in your own domain. So it was quite shocking, and it's indescribably painful, I would say, because for somebody to just see their names on TV, and then they had been nominated as a minister, and then all of a sudden all these animosities, and just pure, should I say, I wouldn't want to say hatred, but it was quite overwhelming. There was so much negativity, a lot of fake stories about you were being spewed all of a sudden. I mean, it just gave me this very vivid feeling of being in the public glare for the first time. I never ever thought there could be a kind of a backlash like that, but it was all part of the growth and experience, I must say.
I can imagine, yeah. So going back to the whispers per se, that the political heavyweights like the current HEC National Chairman, Dr. Ganjuje, and some powerful clerics may have influenced that decision of you being withdrawn. Can you speak on that?
Well, just like you probably heard it in the media, it was the same for me. Nobody approached me to say that I wasn't fit to be a minister or something like that. But I think I have had some interviews here and there, granted by certain politicians about my inappropriateness.
How so?
I that was what I heard myself. I'm like, yeah, like perhaps they felt there were some cultural reasons that perhaps disqualifies me. They themselves agreed that yes, I should have an appointment, but they weren't really comfortable with my being a minister, and at the time I was not married, so always the cultural bit comes into play. People could be quite sentimental sometimes. I'm not using that in it as an excuse, and there's no excuse in the world to disqualify someone after being nominated. I must stress on that. I'm quite emphatic about that, and in a way, it strengthens me. It sort of molds me to be stronger, and also hopefully I feel like I serve as a role model for people to look up to, and also sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Sometimes it's quite emotional for me, since yeah, I feel like it molds me to be a stronger version of myself, and also to serve as an example, of to the younger ones coming up, that such things would happen to you, but it's not the end of the world, and it doesn't in any way make you any less than the person that you are or ought to be. And you should push harder and work harder to realize those dreams and goals you set out to achieve.
Being someone that came from Kano, you think the hearted leading and unmarried woman heavy stayed into it, or was it the age, or was it your gender? Because if we're talking about misogyny, that's another thing entirely.
You were able to just grasp, well, put everything together. I think all of all three. I doubt about the age, because naturally I think I look younger than most people think. So that could be deceptive in a way. And it had played sometimes against me, like a lot of times, not even sometimes. The looks, people would think I'm far younger than I truly am. And gender wise, so we're sometimes misogynistic, in our approach, unfortunately, So that too definitely played a role. And then, but I think the main reason that had happened was that nobody met me. You would always have somebody that maybe stands for you as a political godfather or whatever. And this is one thing I must always say that fascinates me about Mr. President, because it's not like anybody nominated me. He just saw some qualities in me that he had liked, and he felt he wanted me to be in his cabinet.
That actually brought me to my second question,
Okay.
which was that a minister is appointed by the president subject to screening by the Senate. And there have been speculations that your nomination was heavily backed and supported by high-ranking officials. And so this raises us to that.
This is my favorite bit, actually, Hadiza, because none of that is actually true. I was never backed by anybody. Nobody nominated me. Nobody suggested to Mr. President to make me one. It was just out of his own volition that he felt he wanted me to be one of his ministers. But, people would always lie, and some would take credit, and, but it's all lies, really. Nobody nominated me. It was strictly him. Nobody.
Thank you for the input. I think that's certainly clarified
Yeah.
a lot of
Oh, it does.
speculation that
It does. It does. And then knowing the political landscape in the northern Nigeria, and especially in Kano, it's quite complex and turbulent at the moment. I'm sure you should know Kano is not really calm, so there was tremendous pressure at the time, and he's not from there, so he was not entirely um, he was not entirely informed about how
Kano was itself.
Yeah, I mean, I would not say informed, but it's different from someone that came from there. You understand? So in a way, I felt he just innocently nominated somebody he felt was capable, is going to deliver and help make a government a better government for Nigeria.
So coming from a region like Kano, coming from a region where poverty rates and out-of-school children remain unacceptably high, how are you using your new role to drive real people-centered solutions, particularly through the lens of overseeing the distribution of elites of materials to them?
Yeah, that's a critical one because Kano is such a massive place and it's the most populated state in Nigeria. Some claim Lagos, but I believe Kano is also on the high side. When you talk of the poverty rate, and the numbers of out of school children is just unimaginable, and it's painfully massive, unfortunately. So trying to deal with a place like that, especially when it comes to like palliative distribution, could be quite challenging. To ensure that it really reaches the targeted people, because as always, there's always corruption, and Mr. President may innocently want to help those people in Kano that so much needed this help, but people have their agendas as well, you know. So
Can I ask for more insight on that?
well, it's not as easy as it looks. Believe me, there are favoritism sometimes, even though they tried as much as possible to ensure that the committee is balanced. There are senators from all the three zones in Kano and the ministers as well in that particular team that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But still, you know, you cannot be everywhere all the time. You will have to delegate and stuff like that. So, we try, but it's not like 100% the way we would have wanted it to be. But with time and experience, I think those things are constantly being worked on and eventually the improvement would be seen as time goes by.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Where you sit, what specific policies or initiatives are you championing that materially impact?
Okay, I have the hashtag Giving Back initiatives.
The what?
Hashtag Giving Back.
Okay.
Giving Back initiatives, yeah. It's an initiative that I formed to help support the educational system, especially in Kano, because we have lots of out of school children, and it's mostly because of sheer poverty sometimes, and they may be superbly intelligent, but unfortunately would not have the chance to go to the right school and realize their fullest potentialities, so in that aspect, I came up with that initiative, and I tried to partner with some primary schools or secondary schools, so an institutional setting that we could develop and make better so that these people could access, like if they're science students, they would have access because I'm a science student, so that's my priority. Exactly, yeah. They would access the right support they would need, like in the form of a very comprehensive lab where they could carry out their experiments and really feel carried along and get motivated. We also give them mentorship. We bring people that would inspire them and make them
be beautiful.
Believe me, I mean, there's nothing more touching than that. And it's so impactful, it's unbelievable. And you could see that it also impacts people that are just onlookers, where they were not even part of the process, but they must have watched it somewhere, and it sort of just motivates them to also develop themselves and also give back to the society.
Wonderful.
Yeah. The girls are so sweet, and I would always tell them, never, never, ever let your dreams be crushed by anyone, and never shrink your dreams for anybody.
Never.
Yeah, never, never, never. Yeah, so thanks, yeah, Diva.
We will be back right after this break.
Take a seat on the Political Advantage platform for real conversations about Nigeria by Nigerians. Follow our live stream across these channels and learn how it all affects you. Every Sunday, you have a chance to stay ahead by staying engaged and informed. Tune in to the Political Advantage platform to share in real conversations that matter to you.
Let's talk about what often isn't said out loud. The private battles women face in public office, beyond the applause, beyond the photo ops. What are some of the realities that women face when they are in leadership roles? What are the costs, the unspoken costs, obviously, of visibility on the Nigerian public's face?
I'm sure the cost is indescribable. I mean, you can't name a price for that because it costs hugely. It costs you your relationship sometimes. It costs you your bigger ambitions sometimes. Though that may sound contradictory, that may sound contradictory, but that's the reality on ground because when you look at the overall projection of women, especially in the north, a woman is sort of supposed to fit this certain box. Timid, you're supposed to, because you're invented, fit in. And then once you start to be bigger than that box, it's automatically a huge problem. And you face a lot of backlash on that, unfortunately. And sadly, people sometimes hide behind religion, and it's quite manipulative because our religion, like I'm a Muslim, and it empowers. Absolutely, for me, there's no religion that empowers women and makes them really special and treats them in this unique and incredible way, like Islam, does. So people just like to manipulate it whenever it suits them. You understand? They don't project the other side. There are so many prominent women in Islam that had made their marks in this world, and if I start mentioning names, we spend the whole day here. Your name is one of those. Your name is one of those. She was quite a powerful woman, Nana Khadija, mashallah, the wife of Prophet Muhammad. So definitely, you once you present yourself or find yourself in that, because for me it was never intentional. I never planned to even be in politics. Strangely, never.
Wow.
But it's the personality and your what you inspire to be and your overall when you start to observe things sometimes and you start to ask questions, when you become like a critic of some sort, then you're left with no choice. You just find yourself sort of, I never planned any of this. It started as an activism of some sort, like things were happening that you weren't happy with in your nation, and you start to ask questions. I'm sure, like you, from the little I found out about you, Hadiba.
Yeah.
So that was basically it. And then you find yourself there. I have no regrets whatsoever, and I have no reason to back out or intention at all. Like this is just the beginning, believe me. I'm not the kind to be cowed or intimidated in any way. So
I'm happy to.
but definitely women go through a lot, and you'll have to have a very thick skin to be able to push through, and you have to be resilient and have so much belief in yourself. And like I said, you mustn't shrink yourself to fit anyone's suitable image of you. Relationship wise is quite difficult. You have to learn how to navigate.
From a sister, can you just... I'm sure a lot of the ladies that are watching...
I'm telling you, you have to be very diplomatic about it, because it's not everyone that can even handle you being who you are. You understand? Not that they mean bad towards you, but it's sometimes too much to handle. It takes a lot of mental work and preparation and being psychologically calm to be able to deal with
A woman
that has that kind of power. So definitely there is that. And what else were we talking about?
women and
The challenges. The challenges. Then there are how naturally in a political setting, sometimes we do not even have time. Like you could be called upon for a meeting sometimes. These things may not sit well with some people, and you totally get it and understand. So you will have to draw boundaries, because if you're just a pushover, anybody can summon you at any time. So you have to also go with your personality and what you feel works for you and your culturally and religiously. These are things, these are boundaries that you have to draw by yourself. No one else would tell you that. And believe me, once you do, so long as you have what to offer, you have it in you to deliver, you have so much value to add. I mean, whatever your boundaries are, they would be adhered to, I assure you. Yeah. You'll be in complete control.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is
Very.
powerful.
It's empowering.
That is powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
The recent allegations by Senator Natasha Aburi against Nigeria's number 3 president have opened difficult but very necessary conversations. You've navigated these spaces yourself. Do you think Nigerian politics is becoming increasingly unsafe for women?
Well, like I told you, I think I have answered that question already, when I told you that you will have to draw the boundaries yourself. I think it all starts and ends up with you. Yep. Never give an allowance for anything you don't feel comfortable with. I'm not saying anybody is right or wrong, but we have our rights or wrong.
Yeah.
And that cannot be determined by others. It's determined by us. So if you're clear enough in your, in drawing your own boundaries and showing what's absolutely right or what's completely wrong or unacceptable or intolerable, then you're good to go. Nobody's going to force you to do anything you don't want to participate in. Believe me. Yeah.
Understand that. This is something I personally resonate with here, and I'm very vocal about this.
I like that.
So as a sister, how do we build a space where women can speak about harassment or abuse without risking career annihilation? And because now it feels like one woman is going up against this whole administration, how do we build that safe space for women?
Well, there are various advocacy groups, that I think number one thing should be creating that awareness. It's always good to even know what sexual harassment really is or what verbal assault is and all of that. I think the more we try to talk about these things and portray to the younger ones how horrible that could be, such experiences, and how best to avoid them, I think the better. I think we should always be more proactive in our approaches, than and try to just prevent things than acting later when such things happen. I think these things are but preventable and manageable if we view them from the right way. Is spotting a predator and knowing how to handle them before they even get the chance to. I'm not saying anybody has been harassed. Don't quote me here, Hadiza. I don't know. Everything's in courts. We're waiting for that. But definitely, women sometimes are vulnerable, and I think creating awareness and giving them that moral support again, I think is something that could go a long way. Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
From inception, learning about your case, as I was telling you earlier, I was at 18 at the time. And I believe one thing I was extremely disappointed in was I kept asking myself, where are the women? Yeah. Where are the women in politics at the time? And even now, with Senator Natasha's case, I keep asking myself, what message do they think it sends out to young girls when you're not supporting each other? Because it's such a male-dominated
Sadly.
It's such a male-dominated field. Where are the women supporting women? The so-called women, where is it? Yeah,
that is because that is just so cliche.
So you're a vocal supporter of President Tinubu in the 2023 elections. Some people now say that he's tilting towards the south, and the north is feeling a bit neglected. How would you respond to this?
For someone that doesn't really pay close attention, it may sound true. But if you're totally unbiased and completely open-minded, you may want to disagree a little bit with that. Depending on what they talk about, sometimes it's appointments, right?
Yes.
I don't know about that, because for me, I'm all about good governance, Hadiza. And what we need is development, What we need is a better Nigeria, better economy, better infrastructure. And so long as those are the yardsticks we're going to use, I will completely beg to differ because I could start by telling you, like in northern Nigeria, what clearly portrays his dogged commitment in making sure northern Nigeria has grown and is developed to its fullest potential. That doesn't happen in a day. It comes from one government to another, but it's a continuous process. We have these. When you look at the transportation, he has played huge roles in ensuring that the initially abandoned projects we have had in the north are being fully funded now and are in full gear. There's the Kano Kaduna rail that is almost the Kano Kaduna rail that's almost at 90% now.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and that was initiated like during Barry's tenure, and it lasted at like 30% for a whole 8 years. But within these 2 years, it's almost 90%. So who really comes out to say that, you know? And secondly, there's also the Kano Kasana Maradi rail that's also going to open doors for serious transportation of crops and other goods across trade would be boosted exactly, and that's also near its completion. Then we have the road, the Kano Abuja Kaduna road as well, that's just about to be completed as well. When you think of these things, that's transportation wise, he has done. There's massive development in that axis, and sometimes one may ask questions about the disparity between the costs. You would hear that a certain road in the south costs trillions, while probably a road like this Kano Kaduna Abuja road costs like 700 and something billion naira. So people question that disparity, not minding the time those two projects were launched, and also the topography of the two zones, the regions. They are entirely different, So definitely, when you're going to construct something in the north, we have more plains. It's a flat and dry land, unlike theirs that's always swampy and just far more complex to construct or develop when you're talking of infrastructural projects. Then education wise, there's been some leverage for the north again, like the University of Kachia that was launched. It's for it's a university for applied science, and I think it's going to.
It would do wonders for the north.
For the north, definitely, it would definitely um, develop the north. There are lots of other things that, if time would permit me, I would have mentioned. There's the NEL Fund, which was nationwide, and so far there have been like 300,000 students that have been able to access that fund. And that's not the only one. There are several others like that, to support educational growth, especially for people that are not really well off. And that's what I like about him, the inclusivity, the regional inclusivity is quite commendable. You can see the Northwest Commissions that have just been inaugurated, and also the North Central. That is peculiarly good because it also shows that inclusivity. Initially, North Central has been sort of neglected by previous administrations, but here it's different. I think he's trying to run an all-inclusive government.
That's it.
Yeah. So I think if we are unbiased, there are ways we can look at things and really celebrate them, and it's not perfect. It could be better, but I don't think it's as bad as people really think it is. If these things are fully out there in as public knowledge. Yeah.
We have a segment where we get feedback from individuals, like our audiences.
Okay.
So we have 2 questions here actually for you to answer.
Okay.
The first one is, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and is elective office something you're considering?
I'm desperate to know as well. I like this question, and it might be a bit difficult for me to answer at the moment. But they say in politics, one day is too long. Things might just change completely. So for me, like I told you, I never ever envisioned myself to be in politics. I never envisaged myself to be a politician. I was never intentional about it. Politics happened to me. And I'm not regretting about that. I'm not regretful about any of this. I'm quite excited, and it's always good to see what the future holds for you. At the moment, I have not really started talking about contesting or whatever, but you never say never. Like I said, I never intended to be a politician, and I'm one. So I may not intend to contest, and then you never know. You might see my posters around. Who knows? Wonderful. Yeah, never say never, but definitely. So long as one is concerned about the development of their nation, the best ways to really give in your best. People have various avenues of doing that, and one must not fold their hands and think that it's only when you become a politician that you can actually impact on your society or community or the whole nation. Everyone could really contribute to their quota in various ways they can. I mean, nobody is barren. Everyone has something special about themselves that they could do to better our nation. That's why I always say we believe. But, it's always important to buttress the fact that I'll definitely always be a politician, for sure. Because that's my niche. That's where I feel I can make that impact.
We actually have one more question.
Okay.
Guys,
All right.
what's your quick advice to young women they're passionate to see change in Nigeria, and what has happened to women in politics, and what's your advice? Like people that are passionate to see that change happen.
My advice to them is that you mentioned the word passion.
Yes, passion.
Once you're passionate, you're unstoppable, Hadiza. That passion drives you to places if you start to even talk about where you want to be, you're limiting yourself. That's basically what I need to tell them. So I think if you're passionate about something, continue to nurture it, continue to do whatever you can to develop yourself in that aspect. You should always, because one thing we should always know is that, success is never owned. It's always rented. And the astonishing fact? Like the rent is always due. Always. Because I see. So that's what I told. Write that quote. You should. I'm gonna share that with you. That's quite profound, and I think it would go a long way if we youngsters like you and young women, see success that way and cherish it when it comes, and always know that they will have to work harder to maintain it because they will always have to pay that rent. But like I always said, draw your boundaries. Draw your boundaries. Whatever you do, as ladies, we are vulnerable. Protect yourself. Draw those boundaries. Never let anyone make you change your mind about who you want to be. And, the sky will be your limit. Just nurture that passion and find like-minded individuals, Always be positive. Never believe somebody who feels your dreams are too big, They're definitely too small for your dreams. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're too small for your dreams. That's a ring in eye. Definitely, yeah. The sky will be their limits. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That is truly a very insightful
It's quite deep.
conversation. Thank you for joining us on
I'm glad you feel that.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insightful conversations and to your advices as well. I'm very sure it will resonate a lot with the young lambs that boys and myself as well. I have taken in so much. You cannot even.
I'm delighted about that. And thank you so much for having me at PAP.
Thank you.
I see it as a movement that's going to grow really fast and blow into something quite
We
promising.
We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Pap Show. Until next time. Goodbye. I'm Hadiza Wanubash.
My name is Maryam Shetty, and this is the PAP Show. Stay glued to your TV.